Segment 2, Gold and Black Live. Brian Neubert and Elliot Bloom, Director of Basketball Operations, Purdue Men's Basketball. And we'd have him on every week if we could, because we don't have to talk basketball. There's a lot of things that we can talk about, but we are going to talk basketball. There's a lot going on. Your team and the Boilermakers, like everybody else, we're adjusting to life has changed dramatically since the second week of March. And yet you've got guys on campus, and we're all starting to figure out, is it fair to say, how to manage this thing to some extent? Not be careful with it, but be able to manage it. Is that a fair assumption from where you guys are?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a day goes by when we're with the guys in the gym that we're not, reminding them about the realities that we are facing today, and really talking to them about their personal responsibility and our responsibility as student athletes here, and as staff members here, about doing our part to not only keep our guys in safe and intact, and the team intact and everything, but also do our part for the greater campus and community, and making sure I think we're at a point now where masks are starting to become part of the routine. And for a lot of the summer we were harping on that, hey, keep your mask with your wallet, with your cell phone, you just get in the habit of putting it on. And I think we're finally to that point now where when you leave the house, the mask goes on and away you go. And those are some of that's just one piece of the new reality that we're in, and trying to make sure that we don't lose sight of that. And then when we do get together, whether it's a small group workout or team workouts, which we started this week, trying to make sure that we're doing it in a safe way, and also that we're, utilizing the time that we have. We're not together as much as we used to be. And so when we do get together, we try to make the most of the minutes we have.
What sort of challenge has it been in terms of focusing on basketball when you have so much else to worry about, in terms of like what door you're going in the arena, not being able to use your locker room, just having to kind of keep your distance from everybody? It just seems like a lot to process, and it probably was an obstacle in terms of being able to focus on what you're supposed to do from a basketball and academic perspective. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I gotta tip my hat to our players for really being, as Coach Katie used to say, happy warriors. Whatever situation you're dealt, you be a happy warrior and you deal with it. And we've talked about that a lot. And one of the things we talked about throughout the summer, and more so now that we're kind of back at it a little bit more, is that not one team is in an identical situation as another team in our league. And, Coach Painter's on these conference calls weekly with the other Big Ten coaches, and they're discussing, and they're pretty candid about their situations that they're going through, and what each campus is dealing with, and what each team is dealing with. And no one is on the same page right now. And that's not in a bad way. Like, it's just those are the differences that everybody's dealing with. And so one of the things we've emphasized with our guys, kind of to speak to your point, Brian, is like, there's the team that handles this adversity the best is going to be the team that can, I think that will translate to 3, 4, 5 more wins this year.
Yeah.
What do you do when, your travel is going to be different, and you're not in that same rhythm or routine that you used to be. That first time you go play on the road and you show up to an arena, and we're not going to get there an hour and a half early and sit in that locker room for, 90 minutes, and the guys over in the corner listening to music and then going out and going through a warm up. It may be completely different. We might show up to the arena, 30 minutes before we play, warm up for 20, and away we go. What are you going to do when you show up to the arena, and because the locker room's too small to accommodate and socially distance a team, and you got to go sit around the loading dock, and that's our locker room. How do you deal with those things? And the team that demonstrates they can handle those kind of situations the best, and let that stuff just roll off their back and go out and play at a high level, that's the team that's going to end up, winning more games than people realize. And I think there's a lot of those kind of things that are going to go on behind the scenes, behind closed doors, that maybe people won't realize this year. And it could make this year, as if it didn't need another storyline. This is the year that could be another storyline to add to the ones we've already got going.
Yeah, I'll let Brian get into some schedule questions. Our next guest is Dr. Will Miller, who is a therapist, and I know mental health is you've got strong-willed kids, coaches, people are used to being under pressure. We all get that, but this is a different deal. And how do you, from your role to the other coach's role, pay extra attention to that? And of course, you've got staff as well to help, but to me, that's an extra thing that you kind of watch for here in this situation to put yourself in the best position for your kids, so to speak.
That has come up multiple times on every call I've been involved in or been on the periphery of. The mental health of the student athletes has come up more often this year than any other year. And I think part of it's because it's such an emerging area of importance, but also because you're right. Think about anyone in your life, and probably the three of us on this call, there's been some moments over the last few months where you just kind of are like, man, this is like, I need something, like, whether it's a rut or, whatever it might be, I need to get out. I need to, man, I miss traveling, man, I miss going to restaurants, man, I miss doing this or whatever it might be. Everybody needs a little, talking and pick me up, from somebody at some point. And our guys are certainly no different. The hardest part, I think, for them was when you take away, I don't think, and our fans may or may not understand this, that when you're an athlete at this level, out of the 365-day-a-year calendar, you could probably count on one hand the days that they aren't in a gym or with a ball. And I know that seems mind-boggling, but it's true. Like, they are to the point where they're gonna find a gym almost every day of the year. And if they go, like we get usually in most years, we give them the month of May to go home and get out of here and clear their minds and relax and see family. But they're gonna go find a gym every day and shoot. And they may just be there for 30 minutes, but they're going to do that. And so for a while there, when you took that away, there's some guys kind of looking around like, coach, like, can you help me get into a gym? And it's like, hey, I'm not going to be that guy that like sneaks into a gym and jeopardizes, the health and safety of everybody. But yet that question came up a lot, and now we've been at the point for a long time now where they can come in and use facilities. That was a big step for their mental health, just to get some feeling of being normal and being back in a gym. But you worry too about, you throw on, as it's been documented just about everywhere, you have a pandemic with a lot of social unrest right now, the social injustice issues that are coming up. We talk about extensively as a team, and that's just another layer of things for the guys to kind of ponder and think about. And when you're doing that by yourself, or maybe with just your roommates, instead of doing it as a team, that can absolutely lead to some extra stress and anxiety. And so I commend our guys, because the times we have gotten together, we had a lot of Zooms, and did a lot of kind of soul searching and deep talks and everything on Zoom, which maybe is not ideal. You'd rather do that in person, but nonetheless, they were very productive, and our guys really did a good job of, I think, revealing themselves to teammates, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. And we try to be vulnerable ourselves as a staff and really just be honest with them. And we had a Zoom call one time where we made everybody go around and say what's the hardest part and maybe a silver lining to when we were all quarantining and maybe more so in our homes until the weather broke. That was back in April and stuff. And it was interesting to hear some guys talk about, what was bothering them and what was hard. And then it was also interesting, some guys and their silver linings and that kind of thing, and maybe how they were dealing with it. So in a weird way, I don't think nobody wants to make this an annual thing by any stretch, but it certainly probably brought some of our guys and our staff together in a way that we didn't really foresee when this thing first started in the spring.
Yeah.
Well, kind of one more question along those lines. These are kids. Basketball is supposed to be fun. There's been a lot of stuff here the last couple months in terms of their access to basketball, kind of what a lot of these guys' identities are. Basketball is fun. They're not going out to eat together. Everyone in the country is asking their players to make certain social concessions, shall we say. How do you keep things fun? I mean, how do you make sure these guys are still enjoying their experience amidst all these hassles that they're going through just to be here?
Good question. Yeah,
I don't think anybody's better than Coach Painter. You guys know him well. I think our fans I think they know him. They probably don't know the true Coach Painter, like those of us who are around him every day know, but he likes to have a good time. Like if we're in the office and we haven't gone, more than 20 minutes without having a good laugh, then something's wrong, so he's really sets the tone in that regard. And it's really interesting to see sometimes when our freshmen are first around him starting in June, and when they get to campus and they start spending some time around him, there's always a 2-week period where they kind of look at him funny, like, is he being serious or is he laughing? Like they've never seen that side of him before, that laughing, humorous side and that dry wit. And so it takes them a while to get used to it. And so now, like, I'll give you an example. Today we were up in the office and Jaden Ivey stopped by to watch some film, and we were waiting to go grab a sandwich. And he was watching some film with Coach Shrewsbury, and we're out there waiting. And then finally Jaden walks out, and Coach goes, "Now, Jaden, you got to understand, we really like you because we waited to go get some barbecue until you were done. And if we didn't care about you at all, we would have locked the door and went and got a sandwich anyway, and you just would have had to watch film next week." And Jaden kind of looked at him like, is he being serious? And then and then finally he's like, "Jaden, I'm joking." He's like, then he started laughing. It's like, all right, we're starting to get the sense of humor vibe around here that we have. But that has been a challenge, to make it light and keep it light, and getting on the court has certainly helped. But I think, even though sometimes when we get together on these Zoom calls and tackle tough subjects, we always try to find a way to make it fun and kind of lighten the mood a little bit. We've played games, and we've done categories, we've done different things like that, you can call them team building, team bonding, whatever you want to say. But when we were doing it back then, we were just trying to keep each other sane, I think, through this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. Give us a little thumbnail. And obviously a lot of interest in your incoming kids, and you've got talent. You mentioned Jaden Ivey, but you've got a couple others. Give us a little thumbnail on what, not just, we kind of, like our readers and viewers have seen them on tape to some extent, but tell me what they're like and what you like about them.
Well, Jaden and Ethan in particular are gym rats. I mean, they eat, drink, and sleep basketball, and not that our other guys don't, but when you infuse two guys like that, it probably kind of recreates a sense of urgency with some of the other guys. And so we've been really impressed with the amount of times the guys just want to get into the gym, and just that's been a challenge, is like, how do we get them in here as much as they want to get in here, and yet keep a safe environment and follow all the protocols that we put in place. But they're guys that they're hungry they want to learn. They don't want to take it slow, and that in a good way. Like they want to be successful right away, and so they're extremely hard workers. I think our fans are going to love the what they see from those two guys in particular. Jaden's just so athletic, long and athletic. He's a guy that I don't really know who I would compare him to. I don't know if we've ever had a guy like that since Coach Painter's been here, that's combined the length and athleticism. We've certainly had athletic guys, we've certainly had long guys, but he does, he's just a little bit more of an athlete than some of those other guys we've had. Ethan's so cerebral. I mean, I've told people, I said, when you talk to him, it's like talking to a grad student. It's not necessarily an incoming freshman. And he desperately wants to learn, and he's really the ultimate team guy. I think this summer, when him and a couple of the other guards were kind of going at it head to head, he's the first guy to, when they score on him, to turn around and say, "Hey, great play." And they kind of look at him a little bit like, "Okay, thanks." Like, they're still in that competitor's mode, like, and here he is, like, telling him good job, even though he just scored on him. Zach Edey is a huge human being. I mean, he is massive. He's Isaac Koss, really. I mean, he wears the same size shoe as Isaac Koss, doesn't weigh as much as Isaac, probably doesn't have as broad of shoulders as Isaac, but he is a big dude, really long, and more skilled than you would think for a guy that hasn't played basketball all that long. And he's a guy that's been, he has some days on there when I told somebody the other day, we were watching practice and we were doing a drill, and he was just setting a screen and diving in the rim, catching a pass and going up and dunking it. And it looks like he's dunking on a Nerf rim. And I said, boy, I really want to have a season and play in some of these empty gyms, because if he can do that this year, I want to be able to yell Nerf goal from the bench and have the other bench down there in an empty gym. He's a big dude, and they're all great. They've all been great to be around. They fit in really well with our guys. And I look at this team too. We're adding 2 guys that didn't see the floor last year during red shirts with Mason Gillis and Brandon Newman. And so, you take those guys with the 3 incoming guys, and really to add 5 new pieces, it's really exciting. I mean, I can't remember the last time we've had this much depth at guard. And so that to me is really exciting to see so far in the limited time we've had him on the court.
Brian, one more time for one more question. Fire away.
It just, obviously you guys found out officially the other day the season starts November 25th. Now you kind of tear up the schedule and start over, right?
Yeah.
Can you just kind of walk us through the process now, what has to fall into place first, and then what the non-conference piece might look like, assuming that's a piece, because I'm sure Alan wants to start booking me flights.
Yeah. It's been, I don't think anybody can equate it to anything. I mean, anybody that's got a Twitter account, you can see what's going on out there. I mean, it's a mess right now for the guys who are putting together schedules. There's so much uncertainty. That date on Wednesday was just the start of things, really. Yeah. I mean, that just kind of gave us the blueprint. And we knew that we knew what the possibilities were in terms of which day we were starting. We didn't know in, the specific date. Now that we've got it, that's really just the the starting gun. Now there's a sprint to try to fill, your non-conference schedule. Now we can't do that until the Big Ten officially tells us how many league games we're going to play. We think it's going to be 20, but they could come back and go higher if they wanted to. And so once we get that number, then we'll start looking at everything from an exempt event to the things that we're in every year, like the ACC Big Ten Challenge, Gavitt Games, Crossroad Classic, those kind of things. And then going back to the teams that we've already got slotted, in the original schedule, and you have to make evaluations and determinations. You lost 4 games out of this deal, so which ones do you still play? Which ones make sense? And then you look at everything through the lens of health and safety as well. Is it in anybody's best interest to play a team that just stepped off a commercial flight the day before? Probably not. There's a lot of things from a health and safety standpoint that are entering into this as well. And you're seeing things all over the place, teams trying to create bubbles and do, little pop-up MTEs and things like that. So it's going to be a real wild ride here for the next 2-3 weeks. But the league's been great. Our coaches have been great. They meet weekly, and the league has been great in terms of giving us information and some parameters to work with. And we'll just continue to kind of chisel away here over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we can get some non-conference games solidified and done and contracted, and the current contracts we have amended, and then the league will work on putting out the league schedule as well.
All right, going to be a busy time to say the least over the next few weeks to get that figured out. Elliot, thanks so much for your time. Enjoyed. We could go on. There's a lot more to ask, and we'll do it again. Probably at some point in time. But we appreciate that. Good luck with all that you're doing to get it done. As well. Brian, thank you as well, and we'll be talking to you tomorrow, if not before then. And have a great weekend, everybody, and we will have Will Miller for segment 3 after our 2-minute break. Stand by for more on Gold and Black Live.